I grew up in South Georgia in a little town called Tifton, which is probably 100 miles north of Jacksonville. And I grew up in a mill house. Behind the mill house was a group of trees that had vines growing all in them. And these vines were so thick and tight that you could climb through them, and you had to wiggle your way through the vines. At the top of the tree, it was a deck. You could lay down on it. You could stretch out on it. You could take a little book and read. You could do whatever, and nobody knew you were there. It was this private place of solitude that I was able to get away from the chaos of what my family life was like. In the tree industry, and this includes myself, the people who get involved in tree care are a salty bunch of wounded creatures who have found solace in the trees. At first, I used to think that other tree people were damaged, right? And then I'm like, okay, there's this thing called the rule of projection, which is if you notice things really intensely in other people, it's because you can recognize it. Because if you looked in the mirror with some integrity, you would see it in yourself. I'm like, oh, I'm one of them. I've always been kind of a geometrically minded person, and when you're taking a tree down, it's like Tetris. Like, how am I going to do this in a safe way? How am I going to do this without hitting anything? And also, if I take this limb down, what's it going to leave me with? Is it going to create more problems? And so when you're doing tree work, you don't get the luxury of learning from your mistakes over and over again, because your mistakes are so catastrophic. But that's what makes it so exhilarating, is the dance with the angel of death. So the thing about my seminary education and my job as an arborist that really gets me through a rough day on the job is the things that we learned about the fall. That in the beginning of Genesis chapter 3, that God cursed the ground. And there's so many ramifications to that, but the most practical ramification of that is things go wrong on the job site. And in tree work, things can only go so wrong before it's a catastrophe. And so managing that, the truth that you can't avoid the curse. And when we get into situations where things don't go right, we need him. And we begin to ask for his help. And we begin to get connected to him in a way that keeps us whole. And so, that's a very simple truth. It's taken me a long time to learn it. But when things go wrong, it reminds me that I don't have what it takes, but that my Father does, and that I need him, and that I'm connected to someone who loves me, and it's going to be okay. And so we can pursue the correction of this problem. And that gives me hope. It keeps me from despair and allows me to move through the day with purpose.